Chris Fix here today with Agriculture Commissioner Rick Pate, a former mayor who's finishing up his second term. Probably has the most important job besides the governor and all his duties, and many say a dark horse candidate for governor next time. How are you, Mr. Pate? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, yeah, and I haven't said that, so that couldn't be true because I haven't said that, and but I'm not finishing up my second term. I just started it, so
You just started?
yeah,
Okay.
I've got 3 more years after January. So yeah, more than 3 years left.
Okay, but you are in your second term though, right?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. So, just so you know, I know you're busy and you got I got much time. Give us a brief synopsis of what all in the agriculture commissioner is responsible for. Because I know it's like gas and just so
Well,
many
I
things.
can try to run you through it real quick. It's not. I mean, I could use our whole 20 minutes up just talking about that. But you mentioned gas, where obviously that's just one little part of a division we call weights and measures, and so we're responsible for anything that enters commerce in the state of Alabama that's weighed or measured. So obviously, gas is sold by the gallon. But sand and gravel sold by tons. We regulate the scales at a sand and gravel pit. When you go to Winn-Dixie or Publix, your vegetables and fruit go across the scale and are normally sold by the ounce. And so anything, if you could picture it, anything that's sold by weights and measuring, whether it's a 50-pound bag of fertilizer, we can make sure it's 50 pounds, but that's, so I could just go on and on about all the different things that we regulate. And our whole position is just truth in advertising. We don't care if you put on there, 48 pounds. It's just got to be 48 pounds. You don't have to put 50 pounds. No law that says it's got to be 50 pounds. It can be 40 pounds of fertilizer, but that's one little part of what we do. Then we have animal industry, which is a huge component of what we do. Inside of that, we do all the meat inspections for all the beef facilities in the state. Inside of that, we have the responsibility for protecting animal agriculture in the state. And so, of course, most people don't realize the economic impact of the poultry industries. Like, I think we process 23 million chickens a week.
A week.
A week. And so that means 23 million eggs being hatched, 22 million 1 week old, 23 million 2 weeks, because there's got to be something in that food supply chain for each week. And so obviously there's some nasty diseases going around right now in the poultry industry, avian influenza being the worst one we're dealing with. We've probably had, I don't know, 4 to 5 outbreaks of that across the state, mostly in North Alabama. And so our solution to that is we just have to go in there and depopulate all the poultry. And sometimes it's not chickens. It might be turkeys. It could be a backyard flock that has ducks. We've had quail. We've had chukars. But it's one of those things we have to deal with because wild ducks, in particular waterfowl, carry avian influenza with them. And so, like right now, we've got the whole ducks and birds from Canada moving over us and by us. And so we're seeing a little more outbreak this fall, which is not that unusual. But we have to, like I said, depopulate those areas, everything there on that particular property. And then we, of course, have to dispose of it, either incinerate it or compost it. We can't take it off that property and move it. So that's another huge, of course, it's huge diseases that could potentially get in our cattle industry, like hoof and mouth, that are very contagious. We've sort of been pretty lucky with that the last few years. So that's 2 divisions. We've got pesticide regulations, we got plants, another division. So every pesticide that's sold in the state of Alabama has to be registered with us. And we actually have labs that we can check what's in that. And there again, go back to fertilizer example on the 50-pound weight. We also, you can put on that bag of fertilizer anything that it is. So it could say 888, or it can say 12, 8, 2, but whatever it is, what those 3 numbers are, the first numbers is a percentage of nitrogen, the second numbers a percent of phosphoric acid, and the third number's percentage of potash. And so, like I said, you know, we have farmers that are making decisions about what to buy and what to put out, and we have obviously the soil testing laboratories to test the soil and recommend what needs to go out. But anyway, we have all those responsibilities. And so anyway, that's plants is another one. You know, we have the responsibility to make sure if a plant with soil on it comes in the state of Alabama, it doesn't have new diseases that we don't currently have in Alabama, or it doesn't have things in the soil that we don't have. Obviously, if we'd have had this in place 50 years, 70 years ago, maybe could have controlled the spread of fire ants that came actually out of the Fort of Mobile and then spread, but we didn't have some of the safety measures that we have now. That's another division. We have food safety is a big part. You know, I brag to people all the time. It's so unusual somebody gets sick anymore from something to eat, and all that responsibility really rests with us. We are constantly pulling expired food. We particularly look at milk, baby food, eggs, and meats. You know, we're really on top of them to make sure they're in season. So, I mean, I could go on. I could probably use up our whole 20 minutes just talking about what our responsibilities were. But then we've also been able to branch out. We 5 years ago when I first got here, I realized there was no branding program for Alabama products. So if you stopped in on the side of the road, wherever you were traveling, there was a guy selling tomatoes, let's just say, in a little basket, and he had some overalls on, you would just assume he had grown that. Well, that might be true, it might not have. There's no way for you to know that, because you can go to Birmingham and you find a place that sells tomatoes from Mexico, wholesale tomatoes from Mexico, watermelons from California, and strawberries from Arizona. And so we created a brand called Sweet Grown Alabama. And so if you see that brand, you know you're buying fruits and vegetables from an Alabama farmer. And so that has really been a tremendous. We've got over 400 farmers in that database. Any of your listeners could go to sweethomealabama.org, put in the zip code, or I think it'll figure out where you are. If and you put in there whatever you're trying to find, it'll find the closest grower of that whatever you're looking for, if it's possible. You know, you
Oh, that's a great program.
It is a great program. And of course, then what happened after that first year, COVID hit. And so everybody was looking for local. That was the whole movement was, yeah. And then what was the number one thing you were hearing during COVID? Well, it's all these supply side issues. Well, if you're not buying your watermelons from California and you're buying them from one county over, I could cut out 90% of those supply side issues. And so it just enabled us to really push, because we had that database, a lot of local products out to in Alabama.
We'd rather keep our money here with our local farmers than we would elsewhere else.
I didn't hear all of that, but yeah, it was a tremendous benefit, because, you know, what did they do during that shutdown period? We shut down the schools and churches and you know, so yeah, it was kind of a good thing. You could go out to a rural area and not go to a grocery store and find strawberries. It was actually, with the school shut down, a good wholesome activity for families, along with getting local food that helped your local economy.
So this job keeps you busy every day then?
Oh, heck yeah, I probably, no telling how many hours I average, yeah, a week, yeah. But it's fun. I mean, it's like you said, this is absolutely, it's right in my wheelhouse, what I enjoy doing with my background. I grew up on in Lowndes County, which is probably one of our most rural counties, on a poultry cattle operation. My dad did have a rural mail route, and then flew helicopters. He retired as a colonel in the National Guard. But yeah, he did all those side jobs so he could farm. And then I went to Auburn and actually studied horticulture, and then had come back and did that while I had cattle also. And so had been doing it for 38 years, I think, when I decided to run for this. It was ready for a new challenge.
And when you got into this, was it anything like you expected it was going to be?
Anything, it's probably not everything. It's not exactly what I thought, but I think in some ways it's been better. Running this, that's not true of every state agency, but since I'm a constitutional officer, this is really my business. And so we get a little money from the legislature, 8 or 9 million, but we generate either through licensing fees or fines or different ways. We have lots of cooperative agreements. And so you hear people like, nobody likes EPA, nobody likes FDA, but they really not present in Alabama. We operate on cooperative agreements with USDA, EPA, FDA, and really take over a lot of their functions. And so that's a lot of our budget too, comes from that. So, but yeah, the thing that I wouldn't have thought about, which fit with my background, is just like running a business. I mean, we got a building here that's a pretty large building. Then we've got a lab we got an animal diagnostic lab in Auburn, got one in Hanceville near Coleman, we got one in Boaz up in Northeast, and got one down South Alabama in Elba. We got a pesticide residue lab. We have actually a bee lab. We have a chemistry lab, and that's just all remote. Here on this campus, we actually have a germination lab. We have a food and drug lab, and we have the weights and measures lab. And so I say all that to say that's lots of buildings, lots of roofs that leak, lots of air conditioning that go out. And when you have a lab, you can't have that, inside air temperature changes that it ruins your experiment. So a lot of that I never thought about that, and I've got a budget for that. We have a fleet of cars here, mostly trucks, but those we try to rotate those out every 3 to 4 years, so don't have a lot of downtime with people. So it's all of those things. It's certainly not me sitting here in this room just making decisions and pushing them out there to people. I mean, it's people coming in here sitting down. We got a problem. We got this and that, and how you gonna pay for it? But
How
anyway,
many people did your commission employ or your office employ?
about 350, 360 full time. And then I didn't even get into half of what we do, but during peanut harvest season, we actually grade the peanuts and look for aflatoxin. So we add about 250 part-time people during the fall each year.
Well, I know you got to go, and I don't want to keep you because I know you short time. But how did you enjoy the rodeo tournament?
Oh yeah, that was a treat. Alabama had a hospitality room for the Cowboys, and of course we have a pretty dadgum good rodeo here in Montgomery, and so the idea was host a hospitality room, get out there and meet more Cowboys and get more of those top. And we have a fair number of the top ones come anyway. We probably have out of 15 that compete in every event, I'm saying 4 to 5 of them already are coming to Montgomery. So but yeah, it was cool. I'd never done that before, been to the National Finals Rodeo, but obviously that's going on this week too. I think it terminates Saturday with the finals of the finals.
So, is there any truth to the rumor that we're going to see Rick Pate for governor in 2026?
I can promise you I hadn't thought about that, and I hadn't even considered that. I mean, and my wife, if I said that to you and I hadn't had that discussion with my wife, I think we'd both be in trouble. And so I just choose, I'm not going to waste a year or so of my life by dealing with all the rumors. I mean, anything's possible, but yeah, I just want to be the best ag commissioner I can be. And then, I told my kids when they went to college, I said, when you get done, you want to have as many options as you can. And if you just do the minimum, you're not going to have a lot of options. And so hopefully we've done a good job for the people out behind. But whether that would be running for something, there's a lot of opportunities available that wouldn't necessarily require me to run for another office.
Okay, Rick. Well, I know you said you only had about 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
it's probably about up now, and I don't want to keep you, but thank you for this opportunity, Commissioner, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and let's keep in touch.
All right, Chris. Talk to you later.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye. You know how to get on that?